The Trump administration suffered a legal setback in court today after a federal judge paused the president's executive order ending birthright citizenship. Now, this comes after the judge signed off on a class action lawsuit that was filed against the president's order. That lawsuit represents any child in the U.S. at risk if birthright citizenship is eliminated. The judge's ruling can be appealed over the next 7 days. CBS News legal contributor and professor at Loyola Law School, Jessica Levinson, joins us now. And Jessica, what do you think was behind the judge's decision on this?
So I think what was behind the judge's decision is, number one, looking to see if there was a class that could be certified. And the judge concluded that there was. Essentially, you want a group with a common set of facts, common allegations, where it makes sense for the case to go forward, not piecemeal, individual by individual, but as a whole. People might think about class actions as maybe they get something in the mail that said, did you buy a car this year? You might be, as part of a class settlement, entitled to some sum of money because you, like other people, bought a defective car the same year. In this case, we're obviously talking about a different group, but the idea is that they suffered a similar injury. The court looked at the fact that there should be a class that was certify that class, and then determined that the executive order should not go into effect with respect to any member of that class.
Still, given that this has already gone through the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, how is it legally possible for this judge to even pause President Trump's executive order here?
It's such a good question because I think people feel like, didn't the Supreme Court rule on this? And in fact, what the Supreme Court ruled on was something separate, which the Trump administration asked them to look at. And that was whether or not federal judges could issue nationwide injunctions. By and large, the Supreme Court said, no, they can't. And that's why we're talking about class actions today. Because if judges had the power to implement those nationwide injunctions, you wouldn't have to use the more onerous route of certifying a class. So in fact, the Supreme Court has not looked at the merits of that executive order, the substance of whether or not it's constitutional.
So if the Trump administration does decide to appeal, what happens next, especially to the plaintiffs here?
So at this point, the judge has put his ruling basically on pause, allowing the Trump administration to appeal. I think that my suspicion is that the executive order will continue to be paused, meaning it will not be enforced while this particular case is appealed and potentially goes up and down the system again, which for people watching is a long way of saying, I think there is a good chance that this executive order never goes into effect because it's tied up in litigation. And ultimately, judges are finding that it contravenes, meaning undermines the Constitution.
All right. Thank you so much, Jessica. We always appreciate you breaking it down for us.